Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Nitro Racing League here on the channel. Today we have Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle, where we actually qualified on pole for this race, which was my first pole of the season, which made me very excited to get going into this race. One thing that was a little bit different, we didn't have Andrew Wisdom here in tonight's race, who drives the 9 cars. You guys know he was apparently away for the weekend, so he was unable to do this one or the Nitro iRacing League, which I never really do show on the channel. But we qualified, like I said, P1 for the first time this season, which was a nice change to have here as we came through out of turn 1. Pocono, not really a track I consider myself to be really good at, but we were definitely doing a solid job here throughout this whole race, which you will see at points now as we go down this first backstretch. We had the 42 of Cameron just behind myself as we go down into the tunnel turn. Always cut down under that yellow line if we can here into the tunnel turn to get the best exit possible, and it just seems to be overall the fastest way around here. Cameron would actually put a little bit of pressure on me into turn 3, but we would actually have a crash behind us already, and the caution came out on the very first lap of this race. So we would get right back into the restart here on the start of lap 3 with Cameron on the outside. Then right behind us we got our teammate of Matt in that 20 car now, as he is still winless this season. It's been quite a while. He hasn't won, like I said, this season. He last picked up a win at some point. I don't even remember when at last season, but it's been quite a while since he has picked up a victory here as we came through out of turn 1, and we would clear the 42 of Cameron down the first backstretch, and they would battle it out side by side behind us between Matt and that 42 here as we go down towards this tunnel turn. But 14 laps in stage 1, and stage 2 has actually like 11 extra laps to it. Stage 2 is a very long stage now, as we don't have to make a green flag pit stop in stage 1, but we do in stage 2 as well as in that third and final stage. But we would continue to hold on to the lead until Matt would actually run me down here as we came through on lap 4. I was really bad in turn 1. I didn't know how to get through turns 1 very well at all, and that opened the door for Matt to close the gap right up to the back of me here as we go down the first backstretch, and he is not going to wait around at all as we go down towards this tunnel turn. He is going to go through to make a move up my inside into the tunnel turn. So now the 20 car to the front here as we come through, trying to fight back on him, and I would actually be able to maintain with him as these laps went on. To come through the very next lap out of lap 5, or out of the tunnel turn in lap 5, I get up the inside of Matt now as we go down into turn 3, and we will try to retake the lead, and sure enough we do just that here. So we retake the lead here in Pocono Raceway as we try to hold on with 10 laps to go in this first and opening stage. But Matt, he came through out of turn 1 on the very next lap of lap 6. I still was struggling through turns 1. He pounces on the opportunity, gets up my inside now as we're side by side again going down towards the tunnel turn, and he will once again take over the lead here as we're having a nice little scrap with our Joe Gibbs Racing teammate and owner now. As we came through though to lap 9 of 14, we had pretty much just driven away, holding a comfortable lead over the third place car of our teammate Jonathan, but then the caution would come out for another crash towards the back of the pack. So we would all come into the pit lane, take 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 tires, and this would force a relatively late stage 1 restart, and we would actually come out in P3 out of the pit lane as Jonathan was able to pick up the lead. So we come through though to the choose cone, where I actually choose the outside along with Matt here for the restart. As you would get back underway, it would be a 3-lap dash here to decide the first stage finishing results. As you guys know, only the top 5 here in the Nitro Racing League pick up stage points for stage 1 as well as stage 2 here as we go down into turn 1. I go a little bit too wide into the corner, but hopefully it'll work itself out here on the exit of the corners. There's cars just going all the way up into the track, and there you saw Matt put the 38 into the wall. I get collected there as everyone goes crazy all of a sudden now as they all somehow keep it going. It looks like the 10 car of Blake, he actually went around, but it was only a 1 car incident somehow, as it looked like we were about to have 4 or 5 cars go crashing, but it was just Blake, and therefore we would all stay green, because in Nitro you need at least 2 cars to be crashing in the same incident for a caution to come out. Now as we go down into turn 3, you see Matt getting aggressive there, trying to get back up into the mix, and I would follow him as we came through down the front straightaway with 2 laps to go into turn 1, and Jonathan, he was able to just drive away from all the calamity now, as there was no chance anyone was going to get him at this point here as we came through out of turn 1 side by side now with Matt down this first backstretch as we go down towards the bus stop here. There you see now on the very final lap of stage 1 out of turn 1, the 42 gets sideways. Matt up the inside of the 8 now is the driver of the 8 car. He actually previously drove for the 14 on Stuart Haas Racing, but he has since then left the team, and he has now gone to RCR here on the 8 for this week and ongoing for the rest of the season. I would assume now as we come through out of the tunnel turn right on the back of our teammate of Matt as we go down down the backstretch. I didn't decide to force it up the inside of him as we went down into turn 3 on the final lap here in stage 1, and an easy stage win for Jonathan as they all get together once again behind us now as we come through out of turn 3, and Matt goes up towards the outside wall. He goes down to the bottom. I now attack to the right hand side, is side by side at the line, but Matt is barely, ever so slightly, able to get me for second place, so we end up getting P3 here in stage 1 as Jonathan is able to pick up the stage victory. Cameron in 4th, and then 5th goes to the A car, Venomous now, as Christian was up in P6, Eddie in 7th. The Hendrick drivers had a pretty rough race here in Pocono now, as we would come, though, into the pit lane for 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 tires. Blake would actually take the lead in the 10 car for the restart here as we start stage 2, and he, I think, took 2 tires, if I'm not mistaken, on the pit stop now, as you can see, 25 laps here in stage 2, so significantly longer than that first stage, and like I said, we will have to make a green flag pit stop here in Pocono if it stays green, which I was anticipating it to stay green, considering the track. Pocono is a relatively boring race in terms of real life, single player racing in career mode, as well as even online racing for leagues. Now as we go down this first backstretch, we almost had a moment there with Matt, you saw in the 20, but we clear him down towards the tunnel turn, and we immediately put the attack to the inside of the 10 of Blake into the tunnel turn. He has a bit of a rough corner, and that allows me to easily clear him for second place here as we go down and now try to put the attack to the back of our teammate of Jonathan. So we come through now on the exit of turn 3 on lap 3, and Matt, he kind of gotten caught up in battling with the other drivers, so he wasn't really in the mix at this point, so it was just myself and Jonathan who had driven away from the field. So now we come through on lap 6, and I put the attack to the inside of him into turn 3, as now this is going to just kind of start a whole scrap here between myself and Jonathan in the 19 as we exit turn 3. Of course, you guys know Jonathan, he is in his rookie season right now in the Nitro Racing League. I'm in my, I think, 4th or 5th season in Nitro. I don't even know exactly. I think it's 4th or 5th one. I know that, though. Now, as we go down into turn 1 on lap 8, though, we would end up having a bit of a lag issue, though, as we've had this a few races back where in this, it was actually, I think, in stage 2 as well, for a period of time, everybody on the track was lagging. It was just a server issue. Every single driver in here was dealing with this, and it would actually end itself a little bit later on, but we come through, you can see what I was dealing with here, and I gave up a lot of time just because of this moment here. So we came through now a few laps later to lap 12 when it kind of would end up resolving itself, I guess. Now, as you can see, though, still on lap 9, what I was dealing with there with Jonathan all over the place now, but like I said, we come through on lap 12, and the issue had finally resolved itself, and we had given up a ton of time because of the lag. Now, as we came through turn 3, but green flag pit stops were now looming very close. Now, as I was getting ready myself, I was hoping I could come in after Jonathan. That was kind of the plan, and sure enough, he comes in on lap 13, the very next lap, into the pit lane, and I take over the lead. So I decide this very lap here on lap 14, we're going to come into the pit lane. So we come through into our pit box. We know we're going to give up some time to Jonathan because of that call, but I feel like over the long run, hopefully it will work itself out. So Jonathan, sure enough, is already coming through down this front straightaway to pass us, but we're going to exit and still hold on to the second position. So, I mean, definitely the right call in my opinion, and we would get now on to the just charge of running him down. We come through to 10 laps to go in stage 2, and we had closed the gap a little bit. We come through to the next lap. It was down to 1.9, then we closed it to 1.5 seconds here, and then we came through around another lap. It was down to 1.3 seconds, and then it came down to 1 second, and we just continued running Jonathan down 7/10 of a second with 5 laps to go, and then by the time we came to 4 laps to go, we had gotten to the back of him. Now, as we just spent a solid 7 laps or so just chasing him down here as we go down into turn 1, now trying to put the pressure to the back of our teammate Jonathan. Clearly, we just have the better car at this point. We come through on lap 23 now, and finally we get the opportunity to get up his inside now side by side with our rookie teammate in the 19 as we go down this first back straightaway, approaching 2 laps to go here in stage 2 as I was trying to side draft him now as we go down towards the tunnel turn. Now as we're going to be side by side into the corner, none of us lifting at this point now, and we will clear the 19 of Jonathan, and he had just nothing for us at this point, so we just cruised to the stage victory. Now as we came through leading into turn 3 on the final lap of the stage, Jay was having a bit of a rough one again now as he finds himself down in P13 as we exit turn 3 on the final lap in stage 2. An easy stage 2 victory now as we pick up a playoff point with the stage victory. That's the first time we've won a stage in a little while now, but we also picked up a bonus point, which is pretty much a playoff point for picking up the pole, as they do give out an extra point for the poles here in the Nitro Racing League. So everything going pretty well so far now, as there you saw Eddie found himself in P3. Matt was surprisingly not in the top 5, not sure exactly why, because we knew he had a good car as well. But the other drivers were still coming through to cross the line here, as now they indeed finally did cross the line. So there you see the top 5, the drivers that all get stage points. Venomous down there in 5th place. He was having a pretty good run today. He leaves Stuart Haas, and that seems to be the formula to get him running well. Now as we get ready to go green for the start of the 3rd and final stage here in Pocono Raceway, and once again, just like stage 2, it's actually 25 laps again now, so the same length as Eddie was actually able to get up into 2nd place here for the start of the 3rd stage on that pit stop. Here's go down towards turn 1, just in front of our teammate of the 19 of Jonathan. We know the speed he has, but we were a lot better than him on that last run in stage 2, but like I said, we know what he has, so it's going to be quite the fight, I think, between myself and Jonathan here for the potential race victory now as we go down this back straightaway. Now I go a little bit defensive towards the tunnel turn now, as we have now, like I said, 25 laps, which means a green flag pit stop will come into the mix again here in this final stage if we do not have any cautions. I opened up the gap quite a bit right there through the tunnel turn, but it would not last long. Jonathan was just downright faster than me at this point here in the final stage. He would run me down as we came through on lap 47, trying my best to just hold on, but I couldn't. He came through into turn 1, actually gives me the bumper in turn 1 on lap 48, and moves me out of the way, takes the lead here in Pocono. He said he didn't mean to do it. Now, I mean, it was just a little bumps, all it was. Now, as we would get back at it, now as we came through on lap 49, I would attack up the inside of him through turns 1 and actually repass him for the lead, as he had a bit of a moment, overcorrected from the loose car, hit the outside wall. So we retake the lead here down this first backstretch. Then he would try to pass me on the inside through turns 1 like we did to him, but I realized that he's having a really tough time trying to pass me on the inside through turns 1, and that's really where he's able to attack me. So I decided we're just going to kind of cover the top and let him try to pass on the bottom each time, and sure enough, on lap 52 he tries it again and can't quite make it happen with the loose car that he's dealing with. So it was working out great for us, and I was all down for this now at this point. Now as we came through on lap 55, he tries again through turns 1, and I just said, okay, as long as I cover the top, we should be okay. And sure enough, he gets loose again, and we continue to hold on to the lead. But this time, when he got loose, he lost a good chunk of ground, and I was actually able to hold him off at this point now as we came through down this front stretch to lap 57, and you can see he was not actually putting any more pressure on us right now at this point. I think it was just struggling with the car getting looser and looser as the run went on. I don't know what preset Jonathan ran for this race. I myself ran, I think, preset number 3 it was for this one, and then I ran like 4 or 5 in qualifying. But we come through on lap 60, approaching 10 laps to go. Jonathan comes into the pit lane earlier than us, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I decided though we would pit pretty much 1 lap after him, just like we did in stage 2. So sure enough, at the end of lap 61, we come into the pit lane, in a very easy call to make. 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 tires is just too many laps at a track like Pocono to try and take 2 tires now. So we get out in 15.6 seconds, and if we can get out in front of Jonathan, then it is even better for us, and that's exactly what happens. Jonathan couldn't quite get to us, so we maintain the lead here. Once the 10 car comes into the pit anyways, we will be the leader, but now we just have to try and hold off that 19 of Jonathan. We come through out of now turns 1 on lap 63, and we knew the 10 car was going to be coming into the pit lane any moment now, so sure enough, we would be able to come through and eventually cycle out to the lead. And sure enough, there you see down the front straightaway now on lap 64, 7 laps to go, we would cycle out to the lead, and the caution cutoff was at the end of lap 65, I believe it was. Now as I get into the outside wall though on the exit of the tunnel turn on lap 64, and that allows Jonathan to significantly close that gap to under 2 seconds as we go down into turn 3. So that was a bit alarming to say the least now, and after that happened, he just kind of slowly but gradually just kind of continued to close in the gap on myself. Now down to 1.7 seconds as we came through to 6 laps to go. Then it got down to 1.5, 1.4. He's just continuing to close the gap as we go down into turn 3. And then I was just hoping so bad to get to the end of lap 65 so we could get to the caution cutoff, which means once we hit this finish line right here, there can be no more cautions no matter what happens. So sure enough, we get there, and now the race is, I mean, quote unquote official, as anything happens now as it came through the center of 3. Now Jonathan actually would lose a bunch of ground to me though, because he had a controller issue. to. He was closing the gap down to almost a second. His controller turned off, and he fell over 3 seconds behind. So this just allowed me to easily be able to just hang on and cruise at this point. We came through now to start lap 69. Nice right there as we crossed the line. And Jonathan, he was now over 3 seconds back trying to hold on, and he would actually have even more problems with his controller to the point where he fell outside of the top 3. Matt had now moved into second as we came through to start the final lap here in Pocono. Now, definitely not the most eventful race here. There was, 2 crashes and the first lap, and then at towards the end of stage 1, and after that it has been a very clean and tame race, which has meant a very boring race and a short episode here of the Nitro Racing League. Now as we go down this back straightaway into the tunnel turn for the final time, absolutely no pressure at all. Unfortunately, Jonathan would drop even further down the order with his controller issues. I think he was down to like 10th or something at this point here as we go down into turn 3 for the final time here in Pocono. I think we got 4 wins this season, and we're about to make it 5 here as we come through out of turn 3. Someone has really done some lawn mowing right there in the grass now as we exit turn 3, and we will come through to pick up the victory here in Pocono Raceway. Nice to get another win on the season. Our last one, our most recent one, was at Indianapolis when Andrew got into it with Jonathan as well as Tyler and whatnot, and that opened the door for us to go through and take the win. But Jonathan actually ended up in P10 after that. He was still racing actually with his controller issues, but there you see the finishing order on your screen. So Tyler actually gets up there in P3, a solid effort from him as he had a bit of a rough race. Both of the Hendrick drivers had a rough race. There was only 2 tonight because Andrew as well as Connor were both gone. But yeah, overall a solid day for us. Jay up there in 12th now, but as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you do know what to do. But before we end it, here you see the point standings on your screen. We're now up to 6 in the points. That was actually our 4th win on the season, not the 5th win. We were like 10th a few races ago, now up to 6 as we actually are showing up and doing something now. But there you see Jonathan leads the points over Andrew currently, but we're locked in the playoffs with P6 in the points in the 4 wins. So hopefully we can continue this into the next episode at Watkins Glen. So a road course, definitely going to be interesting to see how we do there. Last time we went to a road course was Road America. We had a solid car there, just ran into some issues and we still had a top 5 or something like that, but we did run out of fuel on the last lap when we were running P2. That was a bit of a crazy one, but that will do it for this episode. To thank you all, so thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.